The domed chamber of the Galactic Federation Council hummed with the low-frequency vibrations of 100 different species murmuring in their native tongues. Holographic banners flickered in the air above each delegation, displaying sigils of empires that had ruled the stars for millennia. At the center of it all, standing alone before the towering podium, Ambassador Elias Vance adjusted his collar. The human's 2 arms and soft, unarmored skin made him look like a child among giants. High Chancellor Vexler of the Zapirian Dominion uncoiled his serpentine body from his elevated seat, his scaled hide glinting under the chamber's artificial light. "Ambassador Vance," he hissed, the universal translator flattening his voice into something cold and mechanical. "The Federation has reached its verdict." A ripple of movement passed through the assembled delegates. The Vorac delegation, their insectoid limbs folded in silent judgment, clicked their mandibles in anticipation. The Cerebrians pulsed with bioluminescent amusement. Only the human stood perfectly still. Vexler's forked tongue flicked out. "By unanimous decision, the Galactic Federation declares war upon the Terran Sol system." The chamber erupted. Some species roared approval. Others emitted subsonic pulses of unease. Elias Vance didn't flinch. Councillor Dralis of the Vorac rose, his chitinous plates rasping as he moved. "Your species' aggression at the Proxima colony was the final offense," he intoned. "You fired upon a Federation patrol vessel. You have proven yourselves uncontrollable." Elias let the accusation hang in the air for 3 deliberate seconds before responding. "That patrol vessel," he said, his voice carrying without raising, "was bombarding a civilian outpost. Women, children." Vexler's tail lashed. "Irrelevant. The colony was in disputed space." "Disputed by who?" Elias countered. "The settlers were there before the Zapirians even charted that sector." A murmur ran through the Cerebrian delegation, their gelatinous forms quivering. Dralis' antennae twitched. "The time for debate is over. Human, you will deliver our terms to your leaders." A holographic projection flickered to life above the podium, a single line of text in 100 languages. "Unconditional surrender or erasure." Elias studied the words. Then he chuckled. The sound was so unexpected, so utterly human, that the chamber fell silent. "You find this amusing?" Vexler demanded. Elias reached into his jacket. A dozen security drones immediately whirred to life, their weapon arrays locking onto him. Slowly, he withdrew a small data chip. "Before I left Earth," he said, "my government prepared a response for this exact scenario." He slotted the chip into the podium's interface. The hologram changed. A star map of the Sol system appeared, but it wasn't the pathetic defensive grid the Federation's scouts had reported. Hidden shipyards flickered into view around Neptune. Silent fortresses lurked in the asteroid belt. And at the heart of it all, Earth's orbital defenses glowed with enough firepower to glass a continent. Dralis' mandibles parted. This is impossible. Our scouts saw none of this." "Of course they didn't," Elias said. "We let them see what we wanted." He tapped the console, and the projection zoomed in on a single facility near Pluto. "Recognize this?" Vexler's pupils narrowed. "The Proxima colony's distress beacon." "No," Elias corrected. "A Zapirian Black Ops station disguised as one. You've been staging false flags for months, we knew. We always knew." The Cerebrian's bioluminescence flared in alarm. Dralis took a step back. Vexler recovered first. "It changes nothing," he spat. "The Federation's combined fleets outnumber yours 1,000 to 1. You cannot win." Elias straightened his tie. "High Chancellor, how many wars has your species fought in the last 5 centuries? The question caught Vexler off guard. "What? Wars?" Elias repeated. "Not skirmishes, not policing actions. Full-scale civilization, threatening conflicts." The Zapirian's tail twitched. "None. The Dominion has been at peace since you became the biggest predator in the yard," Elias finished. He turned to address the entire chamber. Humanity has fought for survival every century of our existence, against nature, against each other. And now, he smiled. Against you. Dralis' antennae flattened. You are declaring war on the entire galaxy. Elias shrugged. You started it. He turned back to the hologram and tapped a final command. The star map dissolved, replaced by a live feed from Earth's lunar command. A grim-faced admiral stood at attention, her uniform bearing the insignia of the United Earth Stellar Navy. Admiral Hayes, Elias said. The Federation has made its decision. Hayes nodded once. Understood. She turned to someone off. Screen. Sound General Quarters, all defense grids to full readiness. The feed cut out silence. Then Vexler lunged forward, his fangs bared. You arrogant vermin, your pitiful species will be extinct within the cycle. Elias didn't move. High Chancellor, he said quietly, you have no idea what pitiful really looks like. He turned and walked toward the exit. The security drones tracked him but didn't fire. Protocol held even now at the door. He paused and looked back. Humanity does not kneel, he said. Then the blast doors sealed behind him, leaving the galaxy's most powerful leaders in stunned silence. Outside, the USN shuttle Harmony waited, its engines already humming the pilot. A young lieutenant with a fresh scar across his cheek saluted as Elias boarded. Orders, sir? Elias sank into his seat as the shuttle detached from the station. Take us home, Lieutenant. We've got a war to win. As the Harmony accelerated toward the jump point, the first Federation battle fleets were already mobilizing. Thousands of ships, hundreds of species, all converging on one small, blue planet. They would learn. Oh, they would learn. The dim glow of the restraint field hummed around Captain Ryan Blake's wrists as he floated in the interrogation chamber. His left eye had swollen shut from the last questioning session, and the taste of copper filled his mouth. The gravity plating beneath him flickered, making his stomach lurch every few seconds across the circular room. Admiral Kessik's massive frame filled the doorway. The Zapirian warlord's scales shimmered under the violet lighting, his four clawed hands flexing in anticipation. Behind him, two armored guards dragged in Lieutenant Mira Tal, her once pristine flight suit now torn and stained. They threw her to the floor at Blake's feet. Captain. Mira coughed, struggling to push herself up. One of her arms hung at an unnatural angle. Kessik's vertical pupils dilated as he stepped forward, his tail swishing behind him. Your human fragility amuses me, he hissed, the translator implant in his throat rendering his words in guttural standard. He tapped a control panel on his wrist, and a holographic display flickered to life above them. The projection showed Earth's defense fleet, a pitiful collection of aging cruisers and retrofitted mining vessels orbiting the blue planet. Look well, Captain, Kessik sneered. These are your mighty defenders. These rusting cans. His mandibles spread in what passed for a grin among his species. My forward scouts report your largest warship is barely half the size of a Zapirian frigate. Blake spat blood onto the polished floor. You're missing the point. Kessik backhanded him across the face. Blake's head snapped to the side, but he chuckled through split lips. Insolent worm, the Admiral growled. He gestured to the projection, where new footage appeared, Zapirian dreadnoughts forming up near Jupiter. By this time tomorrow, my fleet will glass your cities, your oceans will boil, and you. He leaned down until his snout nearly touched Blake's face. You will watch it all from this room. Mira struggled to her knees. You arrogant bastard, she rasped. You think we'd just let you waltz into our home system? Kessik's tail twitched in amusement. He tapped another command, and the display shifted to show rows of human prisoners in a holding facility on Mars. Your pitiful resistance has already failed. My forces control your outer colonies. Your so-called Marines broke like twigs under our assault. Blake's good eye locked onto Mira's. A silent message passed between them. You're wrong, Blake said, turning back to Kessik. Those weren't Marines. Those were militia. The Admiral's nostrils flared. Semantics. No, Blake grinned. It is strategy. Kessik's comm unit crackled to life. Admiral, multiple contacts emerging from the asteroid belt. There, the transmission dissolved into static. The hologram flickered, then updated with new data. Dozens, no hundreds of human signatures appeared where there had been empty space moments before. Sleek, angular ships with reactor signatures, 10 times stronger than anything in the Zapirian database. What trickery is this? Kessik snarled, slamming a fist into the wall console. Blake laughed. You wanted to see our real fleet. Here it is. On the display, the lead human vessel, a monstrous wedge of black armor and glowing cannons, unleashed a volley that vaporized 3 Zapirian scouts in the blink of an eye. Mira coughed out a laugh. Meet the UESN Black Star Division, our actual navy. Kessik's claws extended. He grabbed Blake by the throat, lifting him off the floor. You planned this. You let us take your outer systems. Blake's vision swam as the pressure on his windpipe increased, but his grin never wavered. Had to get you close enough, he choked out. The ship shuddered violently. An alarm blared through the chamber. Admiral, a panicked voice shouted over the comms. We're taking heavy fire. They're targeting our engines. Kessik dropped Blake and whirled toward the door. All hands to battle stations, deploy the lights flickered out. Emergency strobes bathed the room in crimson. Mira lunged forward with surprising speed, driving her shoulder into the nearest guard's knee. The alien howled as the joint bent backward. Blake seized the moment, twisting his restrained wrists in a practiced motion. The gravity cuffs shorted out with a spark. He'd been picking their lock circuits for hours. Captain. Mira tossed him the fallen guard's sidearm. Blake caught it midair and fired twice. The remaining guard collapsed, his chest smoking. Kessik spun, drawing an ornate plasma pistol from his belt. You'll die here, human. Blake's shot took the Admiral in the shoulder before he could fire. Kessik roared in pain but kept coming, his massive bulk shaking the floor. The ship rocked again, throwing them all off balance. A metallic groan echoed through the hull, the sound of a dying starship. Mira grabbed a jagged piece of debris from the floor. For Earth, she whispered, and drove it into Kessik's thigh. The Admiral bellowed, backhanding her across the room. She hit the wall with a sickening crunch and didn't move. Blake emptied the pistol into Kessik's chest. The Admiral staggered but didn't fall. His scales had stopped most of the rounds. Pathetic weapons, Kessik spat, advancing despite the blood pouring from his wounds. Just like the entire ship lurched violently. A deafening explosion rocked the corridor outside. The door blew inward, revealing a scene of chaos. Zapirian crew running in panic, fires raging through the passageways. Through the smoke, Blake saw human figures in black combat armor advancing. Their helmet visors glowed an eerie blue in the darkness. Kessik turned just as the lead soldier raised a rifle. Surprise, the Marine said, and fired. The Admiral's head snapped back. He collapsed like a felled tree. Blake staggered to Mira's side. She was breathing, but barely. The Marine squad leader knelt beside them. Captain Blake, Admiral Hayes sent us. The fleet's engaging the Zapirian armada as we speak. Blake nodded toward the still, broadcasting hologram. The human ships were cutting through the enemy formation like a hot knife through butter. Took you long enough, Blake coughed. The Marine grinned behind his visor. Had to let them get nice and close, sir. Another explosion rocked the ship. The Marine grabbed Blake's arm. We need to evac. This tub's going down. Blake lifted Mira gently. What about the rest of our people? Already being extracted. The Vorac just betrayed the Zapirians too, whole flanks collapsing. As they hurried through the burning corridors, Blake glanced at the bodies of Zapirian warriors littering the floor. Shuld listened when we warned them, he muttered. The Marine chuckled. Nobody ever does. The Zapirian armada filled the void like a swarm of locusts descending on ripe crops. Thousands of ships, their hulls gleaming with predatory grace, poured into the Sol system. Admiral Kessik's flagship led the charge, its massive ion cannons already charging for the first orbital strike on Earth. On the bridge of the Dominance, Kessik watched the tactical displays with satisfaction. "Pathetic," he hissed, his forked tongue flicking out. "Their so-called defenses are centuries behind our technology. This will be over before their primitive satellites finish a single orbit." Lieutenant Miratal, still restrained in the corner of the bridge, clenched her jaw. Her uniform was torn, her face bruised from interrogation, but her eyes burned with defiance. "You're walking into a slaughter," she muttered. Kessik turned, his scaled lips curling. "Ah, the human still has spirit. Tell me, little insect, what could your species possibly have hidden out here? A few outdated railguns. Some mines that can't even scratch our shields." Mira said nothing. She just stared at the view screen, where Earth hung like a blue jewel in the distance. Kessik scoffed and turned back to his command console. "All fleets, advance. Wipe their orbital stations first. Leave their planet intact for now." The armada surged forward, formations tightening as they crossed the asteroid belt. Scans showed nothing but empty space and drifting rocks. No human ships, no defensive platforms, just silence. Then the first mine detonated. It wasn't a normal explosion, no fireball, no shrapnel, just a pulse of blue energy that rippled outward in perfect silence. The nearest Zapirian cruiser shuddered, then its engines died. Comms cut out, weapons powered down. The ship drifted, helpless. Kessik's frills flared in alarm. "Report! What was that?" before anyone could answer. A second pulse hit, then a third across the fleet. Ships began dropping out of formation like stones. "Admiral!" a tactical officer shouted. "We're detecting energy signatures hidden within the asteroids. They're not rocks there." The sky lit up. 100 asteroids split open, revealing sleek human stealth platforms beneath their rocky shells. Railguns emerged, plasma coils hummed to life. Targeting lasers painted the Zapirian fleet in crimson. Then the Mjolnir Defense Grid opened fire. The first volley tore through the lead battleships like paper. Kinetic rounds punched straight through shields, detonating cores in flashes of white-hot fury. The second volley shattered entire flanks, sending debris spinning into the void. Kessik's claws dug into his command chair. Evasive maneuvers, return fire. But the human platforms were already moving, shifting positions with eerie precision. They weren't just mines. They were autonomous kill sats, each one a predator lying in wait. On Earth's lunar command center, Fleet Admiral Lisa Hayes watched the carnage unfold with cold satisfaction. Her fingers danced across the holographic controls, directing the grid's fire. Target their command ships first, break their chain of command. A young lieutenant beside her swallowed hard. "Admiral, they outnumber us 100 to 1. Hayes didn't look up, not for long. Back in the chaos of the Zapirian fleet, panic spread like wildfire. Ships collided in their haste to retreat. Frigates burned. Cruisers vented atmosphere in great frozen geysers. Kessik snarled, slamming a fist onto the comms panel. "All ships regroup, fall back to the edge of the system," and a new alert blared. The tactical officer's voice was shrill with terror. "Admiral, massive energy spike from Neptune's orbit. Something's coming. Something big." The view screen flickered, then zoomed in. At first, it looked like a shadow, a vast, jagged shape emerging from behind the gas giant's swirling storms. Then the shadow moved, revealing itself a warship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The UESN Titan, 5 kilometers of reinforced alloy, scarred hull plates, and enough firepower to glass a planet. Its main cannon, a spinal, mounted monstrosity, glowed with building energy. Kessik's blood ran cold. That's impossible. On the Titan's bridge, Captain Ryan Blake, fresh from his escape, grinned as he gripped the command rail. "Admiral Hayes sends her regards." The cannon fired. A beam of pure annihilation lanced across the void. piercing 3 Zapirian dreadnoughts in a single shot. Their cores detonated in sequence, lighting up the darkness like dying stars. Hayes' voice crackled over the fleet. Wide comms, calm and deadly. Attention, Galactic Federation. You wanted war. You'll get extinction. The remaining Zapirian ships scrambled, their formations dissolving into chaos. Some tried to flee, others fired blindly, their shots vanishing into the void. Kessik's frills lay flat against his skull. His claws trembled. Mira Tal laughed softly from her corner. Told you. The Titan advanced, its railguns locking onto the next wave of targets. Behind it, more human ships emerged from hidden jump points. Hundreds of them. Not outdated, not weak. Just waiting. Kessik finally understood. This wasn't an invasion. It was a trap. And humanity had just sprung it. The Zapirian armada recoiled as the first wave of their ships disintegrated against the Mjolnir grid. Plasma fires bloomed across the void like dying stars. Admiral Kessik's holographic face flickered onto the bridge of the Dominance. His scales flushed crimson with rage. Human trickery. Their coward weapons cannot stop the might of... A new alarm screamed through the fleet's comms. Captain Blake, freshly liberated from his cell, and now standing on the Titan's command deck, watched the Zapirian Admiral's image freeze mid-sentence. He is seeing it now, Blake murmured, flexing his bruised hands. The knuckles were split from his last conversation with Kessik. Admiral Hayes didn't smile. She didn't need to. All batteries, charge sequence Omega. Deep in Neptune's shadow, something stirred. The UESN Titan emerged like a leviathan from myth. Its matte black hull swallowing starlight. 5 kilometers of reinforced battle steel and railgun arrays. Scars from a dozen secret wars marred its surface. Proof this wasn't some last-minute defense. Humanity had been ready. On the Dominance, Kessik's tactical officer shrieked. Energy spike, reading A. The words died as the Titan's main cannon flared to life. A beam of superheated plasma lanced across the void, punching clean through 3 Zapirian dreadnoughts. Their shields held for exactly seconds before vaporizing. Blake exhaled sharply. That is our cue. He tapped his comb. All Marine units, prepare for boarding ops, priority targets only. Hayes leaned forward in her command chair. Open fleet-wide channel. When the comm officer nodded, she spoke 4 words that echoed across every ship in the Sol system. You wanted a war. The Titan's secondary batteries unleashed hell. Aboard the Zapirian command ship, Kessik watched his tactical display bleed red. Impossible. Their technology was primitive. Scans showed false data, hissed his science officer. The humans, they've been masking their true capabilities for decades. Kessik's claws dug into the armrests of his throne. Then we crush them with numbers. All ships converge on that monstrosity. The Titan didn't flinch as 300 Zapirian fighters swarmed toward it. Point defense turrets spun up with mechanical precision. Each burst of fire claimed a dozen ships. Wreckage spun away, colliding with other vessels in chain reactions of destruction. Blake watched the slaughter with cold satisfaction. They still think this is about numbers. He turned to Hayes. Should we show them the rest? Hayes checked the tactical feed. The Vorac fleet had begun their maneuver, right on schedule. Do it. Across the Titan's hull, armored plates slid aside. Dozens of smaller craft launched. Not fighters, but drones. Each one carried a single modified warhead. They streaked toward the densest Zapirian formations. Kessik's tactical officer screamed a warning. Incoming projectiles there. The screen whited out as the first fusion warhead detonated, then the next, and the next. The Zapirian fleet's center collapsed in a chain reaction of miniature suns. Ships that survived the blasts found themselves adrift, systems fried by EMP pulses. Hayes allowed herself a thin smile. Activate the blackout protocol. Every human ship simultaneously vanished from Zapirian sensors. Not just stealth, complete electronic erasure. For 3 terrifying seconds, The alien fleet fired blindly into empty space. Then the Titan reappeared, directly above the Dominance. Kessik's bridge crew scrambled as proximity alarms wailed. There, I have eyes, Kessik roared. He whirled to his weapons officer. Fire everything. A storm of tungsten slugs ripped through the Dominance's shields like paper. Deck after deck decompressed in screaming vortices of air and bodies. Blake checked his sidearm. Prep the boarding pods. I want Kessik alive. Hayes gripped the armrests of her chair as the Titan shuddered under return fire. We're taking hits on decks 7 through minor damage, the engineer called out, holding at 92%. On screen, the Dominance listed badly, its engines sputtering. Dozens of escape pods launched, only to be vaporized by the Titan's point. Defense systems. Hayes opened a channel to the crippled flagship. Admiral Kessik, you have 1 minute to surrender. The response crackled with static. Never. The Zapirian Empire does not. Wrong answer. Hayes nodded to her weapons officer. Disable their remaining engines. The Titan's railguns spoke again. The Dominance's drive section exploded in a silent flower of flame and debris. The massive ship began drifting, powerless. Blake stood, adjusting his combat armor. I'll take it from here. He turned to the Marine detachment waiting at the rear of the bridge. Weapons hot, no prisoners unless they're high value. As the boarding pods launched, Hayes leaned back in her chair. The tactical display showed the remaining Zapirian fleet in full retreat, straight into the waiting guns of the Vorac. She allowed herself 1 moment of satisfaction before opening a galaxy-wide channel. Attention all Federation vessels. This is Admiral Lisa Hayes of the United Earth Space Navy, you were warned. You refused to listen. She let the words hang in the static. Now witness the price of your arrogance. Across the Sol system, human ships emerged from stealth, hundreds of them. Not the outdated models the Zapirians had scanned, but sleek, deadly vessels bearing the scars of secret wars. The Martian shipyards had been busy. A Vorac commander's face appeared on Hayes' screen. Admiral, the trap is sprung. Their retreat path is cut off. Hayes nodded. Begin final operations, no survivors. Outside, the last of the Zapirian armada died screaming in the dark. The bridge of the Silent Fang hummed with suppressed. Commander Tarn's 4 eyes flickered across the tactical display, watching the battle unfold. The Zapirian fleet was crumbling, human railgun fire carving through their formations, like a blade through water. His mandibles twitched. A decision had to be made. Open a secure channel to the Titan, Tarn ordered, his voice a low rasp. His communications officer hesitated. Commander, if the Zapirians detect this, do it. The holographic image of Admiral Hayes flickered into existence. Her uniform was singed at the shoulder, her face smudged with soot, but her eyes were ice. Commander Tarn, she said, you have 3 seconds to explain why I shouldn't vaporize your ship. Tarn spread his upper arms in the Vorac gesture of truce. Because we're about to save your species the trouble of killing half our fleet. Hayes didn't blink. Talk fast. Tarn turned to the main display, where the Zapirian dreadnoughts were regrouping. High Chancellor Vexler has ordered the reserve fleet to glass Earth. They're bypassing your defenses through the IO corridor. A muscle jumped in Hayes' jaw. We know. Then you also know you can't stop them in time. Tarn leaned forward. But we can. Silence. The bridge crew of the Titan exchanged glances. Hayes' fingers tightened around the edge of the hologram projector. What's your price? No price, Tarn said. Only survival. The Zapirians were never going to share power. They planned to purge the Vorac next. He bared his serrated teeth. We'd rather stand with the victors. Hayes studied him for a heartbeat. Then she nodded. Do it. The channel cut. Tarn turned to his weapons officer. Target the Zapirian command cluster, full barrage. Across the Vorac fleet, Turrets that had been locked onto human ships swiveled silently. The Zapirians didn't notice, not until the first volley of plasma torpedoes tore through the Dominance's escort wing. Alarms blared across the Zapirian fleet. Vexler's enraged hologram erupted onto the Silent Fang's bridge. His scales flushed crimson. Traitor. Tarn didn't flinch. No pragmatist. Vexler's image flickered as the Silent Fang's main batteries punched through his flagship's shields. You think the humans will spare you? They'll burn your worlds next. Maybe, Tarn said, watching the tactical feed as the human Titan moved to flank the crippled Zapirians. But today, Vorac live, and Zapirians die. He severed the connection. Chaos erupted across the battlefield. The Zapirian formation, so disciplined moments before, fractured as Vorac ships turned their guns on former allies. The Dominance's shields flared and failed under the combined assault. On the Titan's bridge, Admiral Hayes watched the tide turn. All batteries focus fire on the Dominance, she ordered. Leave the Vorac to their work. A young lieutenant hesitated. Admiral, the Vorac could turn on us next. Hayes' smile was razor thin. Let them try. The Titan's main cannon charged, its hum vibrating through the deck plates. The Zapirian flagship, caught between human railguns and Vorac plasma fire, listed helplessly. Aboard the Silent Fang, Tarn watched the Dominance's death throes. His second, in command, approached, her antennae twitching nervously. Commander, the humans are hailing us again. Tarn exhaled. Put them through. Hayes' face appeared once more. Your assistance has been noted. Commander. Tarn inclined his head. We keep our word. Hayes studied him. And if Wed refused your offer? Tarn's eyes gleamed. Then Wed have died with honor. A pause. Then Hayes gave the slightest nod. Welcome to the winning side. The channel closed around Tarn. His crew exhaled in relief. The battle wasn't over, but the war was on the shattered remains of the Dominance. Admiral Kessik staggered through smoke, filled corridors. His comms were dead. His fleet was in ruins. And the humans, the damned humans, had outplayed them all. He activated the emergency console, his claws trembling over the planet. Killer protocol. If he was going to die, he'd take Earth with him. A pulse round blew the console apart. Kessik whirled to see Captain Blake and a squad of human marines in the doorway, rifles raised. Blake's voice was calm, too slow. Kessik snarled and lunged. The last thing he saw was the muzzle flash. Aboard the Titan, Hayes watched the Dominance's core detonate, the explosion swallowing the remnants of Zapirian High Command. She turned to her Zoe. Send a fleet. Wide broadcast. The Zapirian leadership is dead. Any ship that surrenders will be spared. The message rippled across the battlefield. One by one, Zapirian vessels powered down their weapons. The Vorac fleet held position, awaiting orders, and in the silence that followed, every species in the galaxy learned a new truth. When you declared war on humanity, you signed your own death warrant. The alarms aboard the Dominance wailed like dying animals as emergency lights painted the corridors blood red. Captain Ryan Blake moved through the chaos, pulse rifle humming in his grip. His boarding team followed close. 12 human marines in blackened combat armor, their visors reflecting the carnage around them. The Zapirian flagship's gravity fluctuated with each explosion rocking its hull, making every step a battle against inertia. Bridge is 50 meters ahead. Sergeant Cortez barked over comms, her voice crackling with static. Intel says Kessik's got at least 20 elites guarding him. Blake checked his rifle's charge. Then we make it 21. They rounded the final corridor. The massive blast doors to the bridge were scorched from earlier breaching charges, half melted by plasma cutters. 3 Zapirian warriors in crimson battle armor stood guard, their energy pikes crackling. They hissed as the humans approached, mandibles flaring. Blake didn't slow. He fired 3 shots, center mass. The first warrior collapsed, his chestplate vaporized. Cortez and the others finished the rest. The bridge doors groaned open. Admiral Kessik stood at the command dais, his reptilian frame towering over the ruined consoles. His once pristine armor was cracked, one eye swollen shut from shrapnel. Around him, the last of his honor guard leveled their weapons. "Captain Blake," Kessik rasped, his voice like grinding stone. "I wondered if you'd come." Blake stepped forward, rifle trained. "You took one of my people. I take that personally." Kessik's remaining eye flicked to Lieutenant Mira Tal, slumped in a corner, alive. But barely. Her uniform was torn, her face bruised. She managed a weak smile when she saw Blake. The Admiral chuckled. "You humans, so sentimental it's why you'll lose." Blake's Marines fanned out. Weapons locked on the remaining guards. The air stank of ozone and burnt flesh. "You're down to one ship," Blake said. "Your fleet's ash, the Vorac turned on you. This war's over." Kessik's claws tapped a hidden console. The main view screen flickered to life, a targeting schematic Earth, glowing blue and vulnerable. A countdown ticked down from 60. "Not quite," Kessik hissed. "Dead man switch, my final gift to your species." The Marines tensed. Cortez swore. The schematic showed the Dominance's core destabilizing, a chain reaction that would fire the ship's primary cannon, straight at Earth. A planet killer. Blake didn't hesitate. His rifle barked once. The console exploded in sparks. Kessik roared, lunging, but Blake's second shot took him between the eyes. The Admiral crumpled, his massive body hitting the deck with a thud that shook the bridge. Silence. Then Mira coughed. Did we just win?" Blake moved to her side, checking her injuries. "Not yet," he tapped his comm. "Hayes, we've got a problem." Kessik rigged the core. "We've got maybe 3 minutes before this ship turns into a bomb big enough to crack a continent." Admiral Hayes' voice crackled back. "Can you stop it?" Blake looked at the ruined console. "No, but we can steer it." The Marines exchanged glances. Cortez grinned. "Hell yeah." They worked fast. Mira, despite her injuries, crawled to the navigation terminal. "I can override the safeties," she gasped, "but we'll need to manually input coordinates." Blake hauled her up. "Do it." The ship shuddered. Warning klaxons screamed. The deck plates groaned as the Dominance's dying systems fought against their commands. 30 seconds, Cortez yelled. Mira's fingers flew over the controls, redirecting thrusters now. The view screen flickered. The targeting schematic shifted away from Earth, away from the fleet, toward empty space. 10 seconds. Blake grabbed Mira, pulling her toward the exit. Move, they ran. The Marines sprinted ahead, clearing the corridor. Behind them, the Dominance's core flared white-hot. The explosion tore through the ship like a god's fist. The shockwave hurled Blake and Mira into the waiting escape pod. The hatch sealed just as fire engulfed the bridge. As the pod ejected, Blake caught one last glimpse of the Dominance. A dying Leviathan, its hull splitting apart in a silent, brilliant detonation. Mira slumped against him, breathing hard. That was too close. Blake watched the fireball fade. No, that was exactly close enough. The pod's comm crackled. Hayes' voice was tight with relief. Blake, he leaned back. Yeah, nice shooting. Outside, the remnants of the Zapirian armada drifted, broken, burning, and utterly defeated. The Titan loomed in the distance, its guns still glowing from the battle. Earth was safe. For now, the rebuilt council chambers hummed with tension. The once proud holographic banners of the Galactic Federation now flickered uncertainly, their colors dimmed by defeat. Ambassador Elias Vance stood at the central podium, his simple black uniform, a stark contrast to the elaborate robes of the surviving alien delegates. Behind him, Admiral Lisa Hayes and Captain Ryan Blake stood at attention, their faces unreadable. The chamber was silent, not the quiet of respect, but the stillness of creatures realizing they'd poked a sleeping predator. Vance didn't smile, didn't gloat. He simply tapped the podium once, the sound echoing through the domed space. The Zapirian High Command is dead, he said. His voice carried no emotion. Their fleet lies in ruins across the Sol system. The Vorac have sworn allegiance to Earth. The rest of you, he let the words hang. A Ceralian delegate floated forward, its orb like eyes pulsing nervously. Ambassador Vance, surely we can. Silence. The single word cut, like a blade. The Ceralian recoiled. Admiral Hayes stepped forward, her boots clicking against the polished floor. You declared war on humanity, she said. You called us weak. You laughed as your fleets burned our outposts, and now, she gestured to the viewports where the wreckage of Zapirian dreadnoughts still drifted. Now you understand. High Chancellor Vexlor's hologram flickered weakly in the center of the chamber. The once proud Zapirian leader was now a broken figure, his scales dull, his crest flattened. You deceived us, he rasped. You hid your strength, your Titan, class ships, your Mjolnir grid. This was never a fair fight. Blake laughed. A sharp, cold sound fair. He strode forward, his pulse rifle still slung across his back. You outnumbered us 100 to 1. You bombed our colonies, you tortured our prisoners, and now you whine about fairness. His hand rested on the weapon. We could glass every one of your worlds right now. The only reason we haven't is because we're not monsters. The Vorac commander, Tarn, stepped into the light, his segmented armor still stained with Zapirian blood. The Federation is finished, he announced. The Vorac collective recognizes Earth's supremacy. Any who oppose them will answer to us. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Delegates exchanged glances. Some trembled, others bowed their heads. Vance didn't move. From this moment forward, he said, the Galactic Federation no longer exists. In its place, humanity will establish a new order. One where Earth's word is law. One where no one threatens our people again. He leaned forward slightly. This isn't a negotiation. This is a statement of fact. A Quorvian diplomat, its feathery appendages twitching, dared to speak. And if we refuse, Hayes answered. She didn't raise her voice. Then you'll join the Zapirians in oblivion. The chamber fell deathly quiet. Vexlor's hologram flickered again, his image growing fainter. You can't do this, he whispered. The galaxy will never accept human rule. Blake smirked. They will because the alternative is extinction. He turned to the assembled delegates. You wanted to see humanity's weakness. Now you've seen our strength, pray you never see our wrath. Vance straightened. The war is over. The terms are non-negotiable. Earth will station fleets in every system. Any resistance will be met with immediate and total annihilation. He paused. This is your only warning. One by one, the alien delegates bowed. Some trembled, some seethed. But none dared speak. As Vance turned to leave, the Ceralian floated closer. Ambassador, what happens now? Vance didn't look back. Now, he said quietly, you learn your place. The doors sealed behind him. The new era had begun. Outside, the stars burned cold and silent. The wreckage of the Zapirian armada still drifted, a graveyard of arrogance. Earth's fleets moved like shadows among the debris, their weapons humming with quiet power. Hayes joined Vance on the observation deck. They'll rebel eventually, she said. Vance nodded. I know. Blake grinned, sharp and dangerous. Let them try. The three stood in silence, watching as the Titan class warships took their positions around the chamber. Their hulls gleamed in the starlight, their cannons humming with barely restrained energy. Vance exhaled slowly. 4 words. Quiet. Final. Never test us again. And the galaxy listened.